Well, hello. Welcome to American Reversion. I'm Steve Smith. How are you all today? I had all the list made out, what I wanted to talk about today, and then something happened. You may have heard about this mass shooting up in New York. I'm going to make that a standalone today because it's worthy of its own video rather than be thrown in with all the mess. It does have to do with some of the mess that's going on in our political season. Let me adjust this here if that's, I don't know. You probably don't care. So I want to talk about that. I'm going to read this this article from the New York Post. Usually they're going to be on the ground. They're going to have the latest. They're going to have a somewhat more, a local take on it than the nationals, but we will see. It's an article put out by Craig McCarthy, Tina Moore, Joe Marino, and Amanda Woods. We want to give them the credit for it. And as a side note here, just to let you know, our oldest son, may be going to New York City next year to, of all things, sing at Carnegie Hall. Very proud, of course, but not exactly thrilled. I don't like him going into large cities on these things, and especially New York City, where people aren't allowed to defend themselves. I'm going to read this, and then we'll discuss it, and I look forward to hearing your all's comments on this. Okay. At least 16 injured in Brooklyn subway shooting, undetonated devices found. The body of the article says at least 16 people were injured, including 10 who were shot, when a suspect set off a smoke grenade and unleashed gunfire on a Brooklyn subway train during Tuesday morning rush hour, the NYPD and law enforcement sources told the Post. So at first we heard that it was in the subway. We didn't know whether it was on a train or at one of the stations, so they're saying it was on one of the trains. The gunman, possibly disguised as an MTA construction worker and wearing a gas mask, launched his bloody assault around 8:30 a.m. on a Manhattan-bound North train at the 36th Street station in Sunset Park, where authorities later discovered several undetonated devices. FDNY and police said that's the fire department and police. I'm sure ATF will be involved in this soon. We'll be getting more, or may not be getting more information. We will be getting some information, if I may say information. They're going to tell us some things. We'll see what we think about the things that they tell us when they tell us. The suspect is believed to have set off the smoke grenade moments before firing off a barrage of bullets, police sources told the Post. Cops and sources said that at least 5 people were shot in the third car of the train, and others were injured by smoke inhalation. A pregnant woman was among those hospitalized. They always need to throw that in there. There's going to be kids, and I don't want any pregnant women to be hurt. I also don't want anybody else to be hurt. Okay, but we have to recognize these little hooks that they throw us. They have a lot of pictures here that I find raises more questions than answers them. With everyone having phones, I'm interested in the types of pictures they decided to put up here. And as always, I'm going to put the link to this over on the Patreon page. For all of you who are over on Patreon, you can take a look at it, see what you think. Let me know your opinion. So I'll continue with the article. As the mayhem unfolded, the train pulled into the 25th Street station, and strap hangers were evacuated to the R train across the platform, where some got off at the next stop and others were rushed to hospitals. So far, the NYPD has not confirmed any fatalities stemming from the incident. That's a surprise. If you're letting loose inside a train and there are no fatalities, of course, there could be fatalities later on en route to the hospital. At the hospital, just because somebody's shot, then not all gunshots are fatal, at least in the short term. Okay, so we'll see what develops from that. Footage taken from the chaotic scene showed screaming passengers spewing out onto the platform as soon as the train doors opened and clouds of smoke billowing out. Okay, so they're telling us what footage taken from the chaotic scene showed. It showed screaming passengers. Nowhere in here. Now this is New York City. Okay, I'm going to hold off until maybe a little bit. We have pictures of the subway platform, the same area from a couple of different angles. People looking on concerned. Some people laying down. Other people look like they're attending to them. What looks like blood on the floor. And I'm not saying that it's not. Some of these blood smudges look exactly like blood smudges. Others, you be the judge. So smoky subway platforms. Okay, let's go on. Graphic photos on social media showed the injured lying on bloodstained subway platform floors. A strap hanger who was on the train when the violence broke out told the Post there were so many rounds fired off she lost count. Strap hangers, for anybody who doesn't know what a strap hanger is, you know how those subway, they get so packed. Some people get to sit, some people don't get to sit, and they've got these straps up there and you can hang on to them so you don't fall when the train's going, okay? There was like lots of them. Back to this person who said that so many rounds fired off she lost count. What is that playing into? We know, right? There was like lots of them. I don't even know how many, said the woman who only gave her first name as Claire. She says she saw the suspect, who was described as a 5'5" man, around 170 pounds, and wearing an orange vest and gas mask, drop some kind of cylinder that sparked at the top. Okay, now we have pictures of the SWAT guys. Oh, man. Not to be disparaging, that these SWAT guys don't. Okay. And then, of course, we have the caption for the picture of the SWAT people, and they say police officers walked near the scene of a shooting at a subway station in Brooklyn. Because she goes on, she says, I thought he was an MTA worker at first because I was like, I don't like pay too much attention, you know. You've got the orange on. NYPD's bomb squad was on the scene investigating, and authorities were scouring MTA surveillance to try to identify the subject. Cops asked reporters at the scene to be clearly identified so the suspect doesn't attempt to blend in with the crowd. More pictures, more pictures, more pictures, more pictures, more meaningless pictures. The injured were taken to NYU Langone, I'm not sure if that's how you say it, of Brooklyn. Another hospital, Kings County Hospital and Methodist Hospital. Mayor Eric Adams has been briefed on the incident, a spokesman said, and the NYPD is slated to have a news briefing from the scene at about 11:30. I guess they may have already had it. While we gather more information, we ask New Yorkers to stay away from this area for your safety and so that first responders can help those in need and investigate. Schools in the immediate area, locked down. Okay. Interesting that now I read this one because it was a New York Post. In a number of other reports, it described, one of the first things that it said, it described the person as a black man. They did not describe him as such in this. Whether there's a reason for that, I don't know. Whether he's not a black man, we will find out, or whether they just refuse to use that. You know, we're so PC anymore that, you know, when I was with the security department over at the hospital system that I worked, we would have a lot of situations, right? And when we would talk to people about whatever, even if it was an emergency situation that we needed to find the guy right now, hardly anybody would give us within their description one of the most important things, and that is race. Okay? They would never say it. They would say he had on a light blue shirt, and he was a He was kind of a larger gentleman. That's the way they would say it. Instead of saying he was a 300-pound black guy or white guy, okay? I mean, immediately, those are the things, because in our environment, it was fairly even, okay? So instead of giving us a major important piece of description, which could eliminate half of the people, they wouldn't say it. They wouldn't give us a race. They were too afraid of being called racists if the guy was black or if he was non-white. They also wouldn't say Hispanic. They would say, well, he was kind of darker complected. You know, people are so scared to death over this crap. It's disgusting, okay? Anyway, so that's the situation here. I've talked about, and you've probably thought about yourself, the fact that with their pushing we have a lot more gun control being put out. Biden just came out with some more great ideas about how to limit our freedoms, our liberties, our rights, our God-given rights. And in order for those to play well, there has to be horrendous things happening, right? There has to be things that people say, oh, we have to do something about this. I can just see this is going to be on the front burner of every Democrat candidate's speeches for until the next one happens. Now, I'm sure that this is just all coincidence, aren't you? Even though we said sometime in the past that as we come into a new political season, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more mass shootings. How did I know that? How did you know that? And now, here they come. I'm sure, as I said, it's just coincidence. This kind of leaps over. It's first off, it's important that you know about these things. And it's important that when we get to the weapon, interesting that in this story, no description of a weapon. And I can't believe that New York Post reporters are so stupid or so out of the loop that they wouldn't have been asking people what kind of a weapon was it. They included in there that there were a lot of rounds fired, and yet we have 4 contributors to this article. And now see, I'm looking at this as an old police investigator, right? We have 4 contributors to this article, and yet they only essentially quoted one witness. And they didn't ask him what kind of a weapon was it. Don't you think that would have been one of the first questions, especially when she said a lot of rounds were fired? So immediately they're looking at high cap magazines, right? High capacity. I mean, they would jump on that, right? Except that sometimes they can't decide whether they are more after handguns or ghost guns or AR platforms or whatever. They just can't decide because it just kind of depends on whatever was the latest, whatever fits in with the narrative best. That's what they're going to, and of course sometimes it'll be with a handgun and they'll still go after the others, regardless of the fact that more people are killed with hammers, or fists or feet. So why? Why is the information so sketchy here? Some people will say, well, you all won't, but some people might think, I wonder if the narrative is still being written. I'm not saying that, but I'm throwing that out there as a question. What do you think? But this is important for you all to know about, of course. I would suggest this is going to be a major point of contention politically, as we all rub up against those of other political persuasions. This would be something to do more research on. I'll leave that up to you. And to find out the truth of the situation, I'd also recommend that you go over to the FBI site. They have statistics on the causes of death, knives, guns, fists, feet, falling off bar stools, everything like that. And have those have those figures handy when you're talking to people, because this is going to be a crucial, a crossroads discussion and conversation amongst the political folks here. We're going to see this develop, I'm sure. A word of advice to everyone, even though this isn't really a preparedness channel. Be careful wherever you are. This stuff can happen anywhere. I'm not surprised. I think we're going to see more happen in big cities, but we can see them happen on college campuses. We're going to see them happen for the most part in venues where the most press can be made of it, right? And I'll be real honest, and you all are too, you know exactly what I'm thinking. It will depend a lot on the racial profile of the so-called suspect as to what kind of coverage it gets. I've talked about one that happened here recently in a school. No coverage, wrong color. Okay, I'm going to let it go with that. Guys, spread this around to everybody you know. Invite them if you want to join us over on Patreon. Love to have you over there. It's kind of our private club. I'll post this over on Patreon. And let me know in the comments what are your opinions, what do you think, what are you anticipating, what are your thoughts. After I put this up, I know there's going to be a lot of follow-up on this to the media. So go ahead and put down, you're part of the reporting apparatus yourself. Go ahead and put down what you have heard or seen as the latest, what's happening, when you see it. So let you go. Remember, America needs a reversion. It needs a reversion away from just stuff like this. This stuff did not used to happen as often as it does now, and it's a change of culture, and it's the culture we need to change back, and it needs you to be a part of that change. So thank you very much for being here. I'll talk to you on the next one. Spread this around, and you all have a good day. Bye-bye.